Hey agents, welcome back. I hope everyone had a good weekend. If you've been following this channel, you've seen us break down some of the fundamentals. Weak points, status effects, cruising versus speedrunning, and a few things I really wish I had known before I had started way back in the Division 2. Today, we're going to take all of that and put it into motion. Think of this as your first real stride beyond baby steps. We're looking at how those lessons evolve into smarter gameplay, how slowing down can help you master both your gear and your enemies, and how your builds should reflect what you've learned so far. And I'll be showcasing one of my favorite hazard protection builds using the Backfire Momento backpack, a Yaahl chest piece, with a striker setup. Before we deep dive into this, I wanted to take this moment to give a special thanks to the channel's members. It's subscribers and members that have constantly encouraged me to continue with this, and for that, thank you so very much. I am more than happy that this little community is growing and you folks are helping me build something I have wanted to do for a very long time. So thank you. So let's do it. Now, keep in mind, this build I'm running has two important things to consider. One, I'm not used to playing all up in the face of NPCs. I've been a mid-range player for most of the game time. I had decided to change things up a bit, so you're going to see me stumble a little here and there as I get used to playing this way. Two, this build is not maxed out. I have been working on maxing it out for all of my characters. Some items do have expertise built into them, but anyone over level 40 can make this build and make it shine, even if it's not fully maxed out. Okay, so let's recap the big pillars we've recently covered. Weak points. Your gas tanks, pouches, satchels, EMP pockets, detonators on the runner chests, etc. These are your shortcuts to dropping enemies faster, and learning where to aim matters more than what you're aiming with. Status effects. Burn, bleed, blind, shock. Remember, these aren't gimmicks. They're game changers. Crowd control, panic disruption, and sometimes free kills. Cruising versus speedrunning. You don't have to barrel through the missions. In fact, cruising lets you learn the layout, see the angles, and time your attacks. Do this often enough, and you will progressively speed up your gameplay in the long run. Things I wish I knew earlier, like how armor wasn't always going to be there to save me, but awareness will, or how to read the battlefield instead of just reacting to it. Not just situational awareness, but map awareness, like having to rescue the help after calling for a control point takeover, or dealing with a forward's map even after you've checked for incoming shenanigans. And enemy types. Hyena's rush, Trusan's flank, Black Tusk deploy skills and tanks. Each faction has tells and patterns. They're trying to teach you how to beat them. If you missed any of those videos, check the description in this video, and I'll provide a few links to some of them. Now, here's the real evolution. When you stop speedrunning and start cruising, you begin to recognize those weak points and patterns without even trying. Your brain goes, oh wait, that's a cleaner. Shoot the tank on his back. Or, that's a hyena with a stick. Hit her hip bag. By slowing down, you give yourself space to observe instead of react. You start anticipating. And that's the difference between surviving and dominating. Now, with the Division, it's not just about how you play, it's what you bring into the field. With status effect builds, weapons like the Pyromaniac, St. Elmo's Engine, or the Test Subject, they reward you for learning and leaning into a skill or damage on target based playstyles. Weak points, friendly talents like Obliterate and Intimidate or Perfect Glass Cannon pair best with builds that force enemies out of cover or punish them when they expose a flaw. If you're not matching your gear with what you're learning, you're kind of building backwards. You don't need meta, you need synergy. Meta comes later, once you've figured out the following basics. determining your playstyle, improve your skill as a gamer, learn the maps, factions, and AoEs, and learn the mechanics of the game. Now, here's another evolutionary point. You shouldn't have just one build. You should aim for at least 3, build around these core archetypes. DPS, fast, aggressive, damage heavy. Good for missions where you can control the engagement. A tank build. You're built to take hits and manipulate aggro. You walk into the fire to bait enemies into making mistakes. And a skill build. This is the battlefield controller. You're not aiming your weapon, you're placing tools to do it for you. Now, each archetype teaches you a different part of the game. And when you rotate through them, you build deeper instincts. Once you have a pretty solid builds for these 3 archetypes, and you've gotten the basics down pretty well, the 4th option is to build a hybrid. Okay, so let's talk about the build I'm using in this video. It's a build previously seen on YouTube. It's not of my own making. And I initially dismissed it when I first noticed it, as it didn't conform to my usual playstyle. But I took a second look, because I didn't want to always stay in my comfort zone. I know I need to be continuing my evolvement in playing this game. So the weapon is the Backfire SMG, has high crit, with a built-in bleed risk. The backpack is the Momento. The trophy stacking gives this insane momentum, armor regen, weapon damage, and skill efficiency all rolled into one. The chest I'm using is a Yaahl gear with either Obliterate or Intimidate. It depends on how aggressively you want to play. Now, if you don't have a Yaahl chest, as it is a DC exclusive, you can craft it if you have the blueprint, but you will need Yaahl fabric, which you can only get from deconstructing Yaahl gear from the Dark Zone. You could buy Yaahl gear from vendors around the maps if they're selling it, if PvP is not your thing, but that does take a little bit longer. If obtaining a Yaahl chest piece is not for you, but still want the build, you could replace it with a Cheska. Just roll with armor with either Obliterate or Intimidate, or a Sokolov chest with armor, Obliterate and Intimidate. If you cannot find one with a minor attribute with a natural hazard protection already built into it, crit chance of crit damage is fine, just place a bleed resistance mod in the mod slot. Then striker set pieces for the rest of the build. Consistent damage rewards sustained fire. Now, you could mix this up with a Hollow Man. They do sell them. They do come in named caches. And then you just change the chest piece to striker. You could do that. Now, hazard protection rolls. This lets me ignore things like bleed, foam, blind, shock, so I can keep pushing. I do have to keep in mind bullets, grenades, and explosions. This build thrives in close-range fights. Mid-range fights are okay, especially when you're outnumbered and can't afford to get stuck in a status effect loop, but it is designed for up-close and personal. You don't just survive with this build, you turn every engagement into a brawl if you want to. It's a mix of tanky and lethal. I've used it to push through heroic missions solo, and it's excellent for control point farming. Now, my clan is using it on legendary content, though I would heavily suggest maxing it out and putting expertise into it before attempting to go into a legendary capital run raw. I believe they said that it's beneficial for you if you have at least 25 expertise built into the SMG. Here's the takeaway. For those beginner tips we've been discussing, now it's the time to use them together. Slow your pace, watch the enemies, aim smarter, match your gear and weapons for synergy, and switch between builds to keep growing. You don't need a meta. Don't be a meta bro. It's not necessary. You just need to think both inside and outside the box. Let the others rush in if that's the only way they can get their socks off. You're here to win. Speed comes later. Cruise through the mission, set your traps, tag weak points, stack your trophies, and smile through the chaos. Thank you so much for watching. If this helped you evolve your playstyle, or if you've got a build that you think pairs well with this approach, drop it in the comments. Hit the like button, become a subscriber. Membership info is available on the join button. We're on X and Discord. Clans are on PC and PlayStation and Xbox. As many of you have asked for it, the store is now up and live. I am constantly updating it, so if you have suggestions on what you'd like to see sold on the store, let me know. I'll see what I can do for you. And I'll see you back here Tuesday with another video. Until then, this is Hannibal, signing off.